This podcast, it's not just about stories. It's about soul states, about who we are when the world isn't watching, about dreams, healing, surviving, and finding meaning in the madness. You listening right now, you're not just an audience. You're not a background character in someone else's journey. You are the story. So, come in, take a breath. Let's talk about where we've been, where we're going, and the truth that binds it all together. You've just walked into Soul State, the New-Y-Okie host. My name is Chris, and I'm your host here at The Walk-In. Growing up, I always wanted to be an actor. I'd mimic funny voices, mock characters from the TV, put on little shows in my living room when no one was watching. And eventually, I grew up. I went to college, got an acting contract, and then came the biggest scene change of my life. My journey from Oklahoma to New York, which began on July 23rd, 2024. I decided to take a leap of faith, to leave the comforts of home after a season of heartbreak and become something more than I'd ever been, to understand myself, to find myself. I'd spent years giving in to the rhythm of survival, 9-to-5s, endless bills, caring for my family. That was life, or so I thought. But deep inside of me, there was always this ringing noise, like my soul was banging against the walls I'd built around it, whispering, screaming. We were meant for more than this. I'd dreamed of being an actor. I had a gift for poetry. I'd written books and tossed them into the void. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something greater waiting on the other side of fear. So I jumped. What started as a plan with a close friend, someone who was supposed to move with me to chase our dreams in New York City, fell apart. Love kept him where he was. And so there I was, just me, just $1,000 in a bag of clothes. But I knew I had to leave comfort behind. I packed up my little Kia Forte. Her name was Samantha. Beautiful car. She carried me through college, through Oklahoma, grief and joy. I hugged my family, said goodbye to my friends, snapped a few last photos that now feel like old Polaroids in my mind, and then I hit the road. When I made it to Missouri, I was so tired I didn't even realize I'd driven through the entire state overnight. But as soon as the sun started to rise in St. Louis and I saw that arch, that massive monument against the breaking dawn, it hit different. I'd been awake for 24 hours at that point, from saying goodbye to friends and family, and my final stop, which was Gore, Oklahoma, to say goodbye to one of my father figures. People had given me little keepsakes, a rock, a note, a baseball that me and my brother had always fought over as kids. At the time, I didn't know these tiny things would end up holding me together. I wanted to sleep in a Walmart parking lot to save money, but I gave in. I got a hotel, spent 2 days in St. Louis. It was calm, but terrifying, because that's when it hit me. I had taken the first step, and I landed on my feet. So I kept walking. I crossed the bridge into Illinois. The border came faster than I expected. The state was mostly corn, and then Indiana came next. I passed through Indianapolis, stopped at a Starbucks, and realized I am so far from home. Then came Ohio. I pulled over in a town called Sydney to see an old friend. We met at a bar, me drinking Red Bull because God knows I needed it, and he gave me this tiny little toy frog covered in signatures. He said his buddy left them around town for strangers to bring on their journey, and I told both of them, I'm bringing this frog to New York City. And they smiled. I hit the road again, and by 1 o'clock in the morning I reached Wheeling, West Virginia to visit a friend named Hunter. I slept in my car under the stars, and when I woke up, I was surrounded by mountains. And I cried. Not because I was sad, but because I realized I did it. I left the only life I'd ever known. Hunter and I shared hot dogs, some stories, and then I drove on, through a mountain tunnel, through Pittsburgh, over a massive winding river, and I thought to myself, this is the most beautiful city I've ever seen. At least until I reached New York. But it was Pennsylvania, somewhere in those forest-covered hills, that I found something unexpected. Peace. The fear of being alone, the heartbreak of leaving everyone behind, it quieted, and I knew that if I just kept walking, I'd make it. It's like Uncle Ira once said, sometimes life is like this dark tunnel. You can't always see the light at the end of the tunnel, but if you just keep moving, you will come to a better place. And so I kept moving. Through the beautiful winding hills and valleys of Pennsylvania, it felt like the longest trek of the journey, but also the most meaningful. And then I hit the New York state line. Rain clouds gathered above me, slow at first, a drizzle tapping on the windshield like soft reminders. Then came the storm. Low hanging clouds swallowed the forest, the rain turned torrential, the July heat steaming through the downpour. It hit hard, but I kept driving. Through the storm, through the dark, through the unknown. I didn't think I'd make it this far. Truth is, I didn't believe in myself. I didn't think I had it in me. No plan, no backup, no safety net. Just me. And even though I didn't love myself, I didn't have it all figured out, none of that mattered. What mattered was to just keep swimming, keep moving. I arrived in Albany, New York around midnight. The highways were quiet, the air still, the sound of cicadas humming under that humid post-storm sky. I pulled into a Walmart parking lot and sat there, not realizing but knowing I had nothing. No one, no plan, no bed, just about $500 left to my name. So I did what I could. I slept. I had my Walmart job transferred up, and within 2 weeks I was working again. But by then I was broke. I was penny pinching like crazy, barely surviving. And yet I met 2 people within those first 2 weeks. The first was a Hispanic mother whose car had broken down in the middle of the road. She didn't speak English, and I don't speak Spanish. She had a child in the back seat, and no one was stopping to help her, so I did. I bought jumper cables. Could I afford it? No. But it was necessary. I got her car running. I gave her and her son some water. It was so hot that day. And she tried to give me money, but I refused. I gave her the jumper cables. I gave her what I had, and I left. The second person was Atif. He introduced me to family, to real brotherly love. And slowly, piece by piece, I started to realize I wasn't as alone as I thought. People from back home were still checking in, and new people in this unfamiliar city, they started to care too. The moment I thought I'd be the most alone was the moment I was surrounded by the most love. Yeah, it was scary. Yeah, I slept in my car for the first 3 months before I found a place of my own, but I just kept walking. I kept moving. So let's talk about those 3 months. No house, no car, just a little bit of money and me. That's it. Before I even crossed into New York, I knew I'd be sleeping in Samantha, my little Kia Forte. The plan had changed. Originally, I was supposed to start this journey with a close friend. He had money, dreams, drive. But he fell in love. He stayed. I didn't. So instead of arriving in New York with a financial cushion and company, I showed up alone, with nothing. But somewhere deep down, maybe under all of the fear, the fat, the failure, I had resilience. And damn, I didn't even realize it was there until I had no choice but to use it. Those New York storms hit hard, but so did my will. I parked in a Walmart parking lot. Yeah, it's embarrassing to admit, I was technically homeless, but I wasn't directionless. I had a plan. Because a good restart story, it doesn't start in a mansion. It starts in the dark, in a car, with $500 and a dream that just kept whispering, "We're not done yet." So I got a gym membership before I ever left Oklahoma. Why? Because I knew I'd need a place to shower and rebuild. When I arrived in New York, I was nearly 300 pounds, lazy, ashamed, numb. I'd been coasting for years, in body, mind, and spirit. But now it was different. Now I was on the battlefield. So I woke up every day, 5, 6 a.m. I worked out, showered, took my clothes to the laundromat, ate a little bit, saved a lot, rinse and repeat. Was it glamorous? Hell no. Was it humiliating? A little bit, but it was mine. I was carving something real, and within 3 months I'd saved enough for a deposit and my first month's rent. I moved in. Didn't have any furniture, no couch, no table, but I had that same $500. And so I bought myself a bed. A king-size bed, 'cause baby, I'm a king. That bed arrived the same day I moved in. It was the only piece of furniture in my apartment. But piece by piece, I built a home. A desk, a chair, a laptop, a TV, a PlayStation. Nothing fancy, just pieces. Pieces of peace. And while I was doing that, I kept grinding. I kept dropping the weight, started making voice actor business cards. Need a voice actor? Mine is crystal clear. I started auditioning, theater, film, open mic nights. I put myself out there. And yeah, it was terrifying, but I was shedding my past. I was becoming the man I needed when I was younger, the man that would have fought for me when no one else did. I had to become someone who could protect, inspire, lead, not out of ego, but out of love, out of necessity. It wasn't easy. It wasn't fast. But I became what I always was underneath all of that weight and pain, someone worth believing in. My story is one of shedding the past and becoming something new, something of myth. And sometimes you have to give yourself a ridiculous name just to keep going. You have to become something of a fantasy to believe in yourself. So I did. I call myself the Phoenix of Oklahoma. I sold my Samantha, my first car, because I kept seeing the ghost of my past in the passenger seat. And I bought a new one, a fresh start. Her name was Nova, short for supernova, because I wanted something bright, new, dramatic, a beginning written in stardust. And later, a dear friend of mine, Kit Kat, gave her a last name, Ray, like a lighthouse guiding the lost. Nova Ray. I even got a little companion, a cat named Risky, my soft, scrappy buddy in the storm. And now you might be wondering, is he perfect? Does he have it all figured out? Does he finally love himself? Does he believe in himself now? Is he made of steel and sunshine? Does he wake up every morning and punch the sky until it lights up? No, not even close. But every single day, regardless of what hits me, pride, exhaustion, heartbreak, confusion, I just keep moving forward. And that's what this podcast is all about. We're not here to fix you. We're not here to give you a blueprint or sell you a shortcut. We're here to be with you, to hold space, to listen, to walk together. Imagine a cozy coffee shop with lo-fi music humming gently in the background, the smell of roasted beans, old books, rustic wood floors that creak with comfort, and maybe there's a snowstorm outside, but inside, the fire's warm. That is this podcast. And you're not just background noise. You're not just a listener. You're part of the story. You are the story. Here, we'll talk to a sound healer who's learning to turn pain into peace, a self-published author carving worlds from their soul, a firefighter chasing purpose, a game designer, a real estate dreamer, and voices you haven't even heard yet, but one day will change you. Real people, real stories, from everywhere, just trying to keep moving forward. So, come on in, kick off your shoes, sip something warm, take a breath, and tell us, who are you? How do you feel? Because here, that's all that matters. This is The Walk-In, and this has been Soul State, the New-Y-Okie host.